Shalom, everybody. We are going to give an insight in the 3 weeks that we're in right now, leading up to Tisha B'Av. There's a verse from the Megillat Echa in the first chapter regarding what, as if Kivyachol, Zion, Yerushalayim says about herself after the destruction of the temple and the enemies. Kol rodfeya hisigua ben hametzarim. All those who pursued her, the Jewish nation and the Beit HaMikdash, reached her in between the straits. When they were in a straight, difficult time, that's when the enemy came and destroyed the temple. So Rashi brings there the quotation from the sages, the Gemara, the Midrash, that Kol Rodfei Sigua Ben HaMetzarim, between the straits is between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av. That it took time from that point until Tisha B'Av, 17th of Tammuz till Tisha B'Av, to eventually destroy the temple, the holy temple, the terrible things that happened at that time. And Maggid of Mizrich brings an amazing insight. He says like this, that the greatest time of the year to be squeezed, you hear that? To be squeezed in order to come back to Hashem, because this unfortunately is the greatest way to get a person to come back, is by squeezing him, by putting him in a strait. So he writes like this, he explains like this, the Maggid of Mizrich, don't read Rodfeha, all those who pursued her, Rodfeha, rather read it, Kol Rodef Yudke, all those who pursue, to connect, to cling to Yudke from Hashem's name. Hisig reaches, the verse really reads Hisigua, reached her, Hisigua, but it can be read also Hisig Vav Ke, from Hashem's name, Yudke Vav Ke, saying that these 3 weeks is the greatest time to connect to Hashem's name, to Yudke Vav Ke. If you're pursuing Yudke, you merit to connect to Vav Ke. In other words, this is the greatest time that a person can, through the difficulties of these 3 weeks, connect to Hashem like no other time of the year. This is the Maggid of Mizrich. We're going to go a step to delve into this a bit more, about the concept of Yud-K and Vav-K, what it relates to. The Kabbalist, the Midrash, the Zohar, they say that in the word mitzvah, you have hidden there Hashem's name. You have mitzvah, mem tzadik vav hey. The vav hey is corresponding to Hashem's name, vav ke. And the mem tzadik in a gematria called atbash, where you take the 22 letters and you like fold them, so that the first letter aleph now corresponds to tav, the second letter bet corresponds to shin, right? The third letter gimel, resh, and so on. In this format, the mem of mitzvah corresponds to yud, and the tzadik corresponds to K, Yud, the Hey, the first day of Yud K Vav K. So hidden in the mitzvah is Hashem's name. And our goal in doing mitzvot in this world is to reconnect Hashem's divine presence, which is technically in exile with us in this world now, to reconnect it back to Hashem. That's what we say. If you look in your siddur, you have the special Leshem Yichud prayers. What do we say? Leshem Yichud Kucha Brichu Ushchinte Liachada Shem Yud K Bevav K. For the sake of unifying Kucha Brichu and His divine presence, right? Which is, in other words, Leached, to unify Yud K, which is corresponding to Kucha Brichu as if, and Vav K is the Shchinte. It's funny because Hashem is one, but because of the exile, there is a presence of Hashem in this world, where our job is to reconnect it back to His essence, if you want to say, which is Yud K. So when we do a mitzvah, the revealed part of Yud K Vav K is Vav K, the lower part, which is associated and readily noticeable in the mitzvot we do. Tefillin, Shabbat, Yom Kippur, Tzedakah, Brachot. Anytime you're doing a mitzvah, so it's obvious what you're doing now is for the sake of Hashem. The revealed part of that is Vav K. The part of Hashem that we have recognized in this world is the last 2 letters of His name, Vav K, which is in the mitzvah itself. It's hidden in the mitzvah. It's expressed in the mitzvah itself. When you have tefillin, it's amazing. The idea is phenomenal. When you do a mitzvah like tefillin, it's as if you're connecting to Hashem Himself. When you say a bracha, you're connecting to Hashem Himself. When you keep Shabbat, you are actually in contact with Hashem's name. If you think about it, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's what you say in the Leshem Yichud. You're seeking to reunite the Hashem with the divine presence. It's unbelievable. How are you doing that? Because the mitzvah itself has in it Hashem's name. Our goal in doing the mitzvah is to reconnect it back to Yud K, which in the meantime, and from our perspective in this world, it's hidden. In the Mem Tzadik, it's hidden, okay? So our goal is to reveal Hashem. And how is it done? By doing mitzvot. Rabbi Nachman though says, more is required. What more is required? Doing the mitzvah with joy. Doing the mitzvah of joy is what propels the mitzvah upwards. You can do a mitzvah dead, very like doubt of it and sad and depressed and miserable and just so mumbled by worldly events and your difficulties and your challenges and whatever you're going through. So you get a reward for doing the mitzvah, but for the mitzvah to go back up, he says, Rabbi Nachman, you need simcha. Because the power of simcha is that it can release the person and the mitzvah and the shechina, which is stuck in exile, stuck in sadness. He calls the exile atzvut. By doing the mitzvah b'simcha, you break you release it from the clutches of the evil, of the sadness, and elevate it back to Hashem. Hashem's thing is joy. Like the verse which says, Natata simcha belibi. The heart of Hashem also, simcha shebalev, is associated with joy. So our goal is to bring up everything back to Hashem, and that's done through doing the mitzvot with joy. Okay? In this, we reunite Yud K with Vav K by us elevating the mitzvot up to Him. Okay? But in the meantime, we're stuck in that when we do mitzvot, we have to, with belief, with emunah, believe that we're connecting to Yud K when we do the mitzvot. We have the Vav K accessible in the mitzvah itself, but hidden, the Mem Tzadik, it's hidden, and our goal is to reveal it. This is done by doing mitzvot b'simcha. Okay? So now Yud K is the goal that every Jew should thrive for. Yud K expresses clear awareness of Hashem in the world, clear connection to Hashem in the world. Have a clarity in the mind of Hashem's awareness. When we're in this world in exile, the definition of exile is that it's a lack of clarity. Everything is fogged and bogged down and not clear and gray. That's how it is in exile. And our goal is to gain clarity. So going back to what the Maggid said, Kol Rodefka, anyone who runs after Yud K, which means clarity of Hashem's awareness in the world. So how does he do that? It's Hisig. He reaches Vav K. What's going on? To explain that when a Jew manages successfully to do mitzvot b'simcha, and then he's propelled the mitzvah to go back up, and it's helping the person who did the mitzvah also to reach a clarity, right? That's the goal. But Rabbi Nachman teaches in the Kutim on lesson 24 that the nature of the clarity, to get to the clarity, you have to be tested first to build strong vessels to receive the capacity of the strong force of this light of awareness of Yud K. How do they test a person? He's pushed back. He's pushed backwards. You did something good. You did something positive in life, and they give me a slap in the face. What's going on? Why am I being pushed back? So this is the key. This is the key how you to test to see you if you're worthy to perceive what's called the infinite light, which is behind the Yud K of Hashem's name. To have a perception, you need to build vessels. How do you build vessels? By being pushed back. The pushing back strengthens your emunah to wait for the green light. Now you're waiting to come close. You did good things all your life, trying to do good things. You get just pushed back. What is Hashem trying to tell me? This is the test. If you can stand up to this technically quote unquote slap in the face, so then you are worthy to perceive Hashem. So the Maggid's teaching is in these 3 weeks we are meant to feel more than any other time of the year the setbacks. You know, what is this, Hashem? You're meant to feel what it is to be in exile big time. You're trying to be a good Jew. You're trying to put on tefillin, trying to daven, trying to serve Hashem with joy, trying to want to just have a connection with God. That's all I want. All I want is the realization of Hashem in my life. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for riches and a mansion. I'm asking just to have that connection to God. How do they test us from heaven? You're Rodef Yud K, so they must seek, they push you back down into this world. And all you have to do with is doing mitzvot with just Vav K, with no light of Yud K, no awareness, just blind faith. Keep on doing mitzvot with darkness until they're ready, you're seen fit and ready to advance. So the Maggid's teaching is the most propitious time for this, and any other time of the year, more than any other time of the year, is during these 3 weeks. Kol Rodef Ka, anyone who seeks to pursue Yud-K, which is clarity and light in their Judaism, light in their connection to God, to Torah, to mitzvot, to tzaddikim, to whatever. You want light, you want clarity, you want that feeling of being a part of something, of in, and feeling good about what you're doing. That's Rodefka. So your Masig Vavke, they push you down to deal with just in the meantime the Vavke, which is the revealed part of the mitzvah that you have, which doesn't show so much. You have to work to build it up through Emunah. And the best time for this is during the 3 weeks. May we be zoche to maximize these 3 weeks, maximize our holding on, our search, our hamtana, our waiting for them to let us in with a lot of emunah until after Tisha B'Av we can be zoche to Shabbat Nachamu, to have a true consolation and to see the rebuilding of the temple, that they can turn our efer, our ashes, which connotes us being in exile and doing our best to connect to Hashem and doing mitzvah while in exile. That's the efer, the ashes, to turn it to pe'er, the same letters. Pe'er is the glory, to have a glorification and a clarity of Hashem's light in His name. All the best.